What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Mr. Madrid from the Mr. Madrid Show. Tonight's guest is somebody I'm actually looking forward to sitting down with for a few different reasons. James McLeod, also known as that Vitiligo guy, he's been a DJ since 11 years old. He's an author, a speaker, entrepreneur, and somebody who's built a platform around helping people embrace things that make them different. But here's the thing, his story goes way deeper than just vitiligo. He's dealt with being bullied, trying to figure out where he fit in, making some bad choices along the way, and then having to rebuild his life. And the reason I'm especially looking forward to this conversation is because I myself have vitiligo too. So this isn't going to be one of those interviews where we're really going to get carried off into only vitiligo, but the growth that goes on behind that. Now I want to get into the realness. I want to talk about growing up different. I want to talk about identity, confidence, acceptance, the choices that we make when we're trying to figure out who the hell we're going to become. And what happens when you finally decide that you're not going to let your past or what other people see when they look at you define you. So, James McLeod, welcome to the show.
But thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's definitely an honor, man.
Likewise, man. It's a pleasure and a privilege to have you on. I see all the amazing and great things that you do on social, and you're very inspiring, I will say, at the very least, right? Whenever I watch your videos, I always feel like I have to comment and I have to give some props and big ups to all the things that you're doing. They're amazing things. So, I tip my hat to you. I salute you. Really, really proud of the fact that I was able to bring you on the show today and that you made the time and space for this. One of the questions that I typically ask all my guests is who they are. So who is James McLeod?
Man, that's a great question. Who is James McLeod? Besides being an author, speaker, a founder of a foundation, James McLeod is just someone who wants to change the world. And how I want to change the world is helping people see themselves differently. Growing up, I was a lot different. I didn't have no one, or I didn't see no one who looked like me. So I decided one day just to say, you know what? I want to be the change what I want to see in the world.
Powerful. And, we'll get into, and I would like to just knock that out now, right? You're known as the Vitiligo guy on social media. You have a really great following. I think over 150,000 followers on social media. Obviously, you're doing something right on the social platforms. Your brand itself, the Vitiligo guy. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us how you got started and what that means to you.
So I started that Vitiligo guy back in 2015, 16, and it was just a dip. I was blogging at the time, and I just wanted to put positivity out in the world, and I didn't think it was going to be what it is today. And I just wanted to kind of put a message out there, allow people to, feel that good, that vibration, that vibe about who they are. And then when I started to say, man, this is starting to work, I got out of the blogging, and I just took it on social media and just started sharing my story about my upbringing, about being different and living with vitiligo. And then I decided to write a book, The Boy Behind the Face. And when I wrote that book, everything changed. I didn't talk about vitiligo in the book. I just talk about this monster that I thought I saw in the mirror. And then one day I chased that monster away with kindness, love, and bravery because I didn't like the fact that I was different. And every time I looked in the mirror, I thought I saw a monster, but the monster was never real. It was just my own insecurities and fears. So I started to build around that with that vitiligo guy. And then I was like, you know what? Vitiligo don't define me. I might have grew up with vitiligo, but I don't see myself someone just having vitiligo, and I didn't want to put myself in the box. So most people might look at me as a disadvantage. I took advantage of the opportunity and say, you know what? I'm going to operate with the company, that vitiligo guy, and showcase everything that I love to do, which is DJing, speaking, personal trainer. That's what I've been doing for 10 plus years, shaping minds and shaping bodies. I can't shape your mind if I can't, I can't shape your body if I can't shape your mind. That was just that whole philosophy falling into that vitiligo guy. And then I've been building. I've been in this entrepreneur space for like 10 plus years now. And right. I haven't looked back, but just building that vitiligo guy. And I'm not just an author speaker. That's why I say I'm building. It's just building. It's a brand within itself. It's a personal brand within itself. That it's just making moves and looking to change the world,
Yeah. And what's amazing about the story that you've laid down so far is you obviously don't confine yourself to being inside of a box. You don't let the outside world kind of dictate what you can and cannot do. And I always find that inspiring in individuals. And I know that being that in your vitiligo journey, right? Let's go back real quick to when did you uncover that you had it? How old were you? And then how was that process of from the moment you had it and growing through that?
So my mother, I always asked her, I said, hey, when you discovered I had vitiligo, she said at 18 months old, she thought it was a tiny pimple like on top of my forehead. And overnight, if vitiligo, it just spread it. It just completely wiped out my left side of my face, which you can't see now. It's more predominant white. And, just growing up with it at the time, my physician didn't know what it was. We didn't get a call till I was like 5 years old. And he said, hey, I have a dermatologist for you. You can check it out and see what it is. So for those who don't know, vitiligo is an autoimmune condition that causes loss of pigmentation on the skin that attacks the T cells that depigment back the skin. So my sister actually had vitiligo too. It's 30% hereditary, but she has it below her hip. So I remember my mom bringing me and my sister to the appointment. And after he did the assessment, he said, oh, they have vitiligo. And we like, what is vitiligo? So they gave us an option. So it was light therapy and stuff like that. And we just never went back. We went back into the community and just said it was a birthmark, but right. I'm just doing my entire life just saying it was just a birthmark to one day I decided to say, you know what? I'm going to start that vitiligo guy.
How old were you when you started the vitiligo guy? Do you remember that?
I remember I got released from federal prison. So that's another thing too. So I started that maybe 4 years after I came home.
Okay.
Yeah. But
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you mentioned being an author, and I'm wondering because you spoke about seeing a monster in the mirror, right? When did you author the book? Was that before or after prison?
That was after.
That was after. Okay.
I released the book around 2019.
Okay. All right. It's crazy to know that it's hereditary because as I shared before, I have it as well. Nobody in my family has it or that we know has it. And similar to yourself, I went to doctor after doctor. I did the cream. I did the light.
It's a UVB light. So it's one of those things. It's almost like a tanner salon light, but that causes cancer. But these lights the dermatologists provide don't cause cancer.
Okay.
So the fluorescent light is not as aggressive.
Right. And that's the thing. And I know we'll get deeper into it, but talk about being in a world already where you're trying to feel like you belong to something and you're born with something or I developed it at 7 and then now you're trying to find a cure where it makes you feel like, okay, I'm not normal. We're trying to get a fix. And for me, I was trying to figure out whether or not I wanted to get fixed or I didn't. As a kid, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And like you mentioned offline, the way your mom raised you was already
Yeah. So my mom's such a dope individual. She just really instilled confidence in me at an early age. She never told me I was different. She always told me I was special, I was unique, I was God's child. And hearing that at such early age was crazy because it's I couldn't articulate that. And, but when I actually went to school, my peers would look at me weird all the time. So I would always go back and forth to my mom, all them words you're telling me, is that true or not? Right. And I remember when I went to kindergarten, this is so far back, when kindergarten was 27 to 30 kids in the class. I remember getting removed from the classroom because they said I was a distraction. Because kids would always look at me, point, stare, or even kids at the time, back then, especially we going back to the older generation of this condition in the 80s where, kids would just burst out crying because different was unheard of, back then. It was no awareness around differences. You didn't see it as you see it now. And I got placed in a small group setting and maybe 6 people in my class. And these 6 people in my class was really before you thought about nonverbal kids with the spectrum now, but back then you would call these kids retarded back then. Right. And respectfully, but, I could have placed these labels on myself and my mom, she couldn't afford to come take me out of school and fight and get me back into my mainstream class. And then I finally got out of that class, probably maybe that just spend 1 year in that class. And then they put me back into mainstream because, it was back then it was just really kind of you couldn't really fight. To try to get your kid out of it. Nowadays, parents is advocating for kids and stuff that and making sure they got the proper testing. They just placed me in there just based off my appearance. They just felt like I was a distraction.
What do you think that affected you in any way being in separated from the other kids? How did that affect you within that year's time? Did that do anything psychological to you?
Absolutely. That's a great question. What it did to me, them labels, just hearing these kids drooling and doing just the craziest, wildest thing. And I was just this functional, normal kid, right? So now you start to see this every single day, 5 days a week, eight hours a day. And just and you getting treated the same or you just getting treated left alone. So I was told I couldn't read or write. I never even tried because that label they gave me, I just thought that,
How old were you?
I had to be 5 or 6 at the time
Okay.
so that was kindergarten and first grade. And then I got second grade, they put me in mainstream. So I was like told all these different things. And I just had a behavior issue. I just acted out. It just caused me just to act out for attention, and, but I remember just, then when I got into second grade, the kids, one classmate would just make fun of me all the time. And I just didn't really understand that because I was coming from a place of love. My dad had 11 sisters, 2 brothers. So I had all my family. We all lived in the same town.
Right.
And it was one of those things I just didn't really get it. And the classmate who made fun of me every single day, he would say mean things like, who erased the other side of your face? You look like a cow. Some of the kids would blur moo and stuff like that. But I remember this one particular day, and that was just only a short period of time. That might have lasted a few weeks. But I remember coming back to school with a smile on my face that day, going back into that cafeteria. And the kid who used to make fun of me all the time, he said, "Why are you so happy today? I don't have anything mean to say about you." And I didn't even really think about that. And I remember just continue to smile. And I remember we got back up from that lunch table. I remember getting back into our formal line. That's what we did back then in elementary school. I get a tap on my shoulder and I turned around. I said, "Why are you tapping me for?" He said, "No one never smiled at me the way you smiled at me." That classmate who was making fun of me every single day was a victim at home. He's getting bullied at home.
Wow.
And so that was the crazy thing about it. And I always was a big smiler all the time. So I was like, man, this, in my mind, this smile just kind of changed everything. And he was open at the time to kind of tell me, "Thank you for smiling the way that you smiled at me." And, I didn't believe it. So I went home. I was so excited. My mom had a rule, you got to change out of your school clothes. I changed out of my school clothes and I decided to get on my bike and go smile at random strangers in my neighborhood and hopefully they smile back at me. And guess what? They did. And every single day to this day, I count how many smiles I get for the day. So it's
That's
one of those
dope.
things this simple, a smile can change everything. It's just so crazy how a smile can just change everything. And moving forward from there, I just was I think practice made perfect. I was just always confident. My mom always put me out there. I remember back in the days, we would walk in the street. My mom, cars would pull over and yell out the window, "It ain't Halloween yet. It could be middle of July. Middle of May, just because, I was a brown boy with a half a face. That was just uncommon back then,
How do you think a lot of times, and I'm sure you've answered questions similar to this in past interviews. How do you feel like your mom felt? Because I always try to think outside the box. So you have a kid who has, I can't even call it a condition. It's just a skin condition, right? Skin pigmentation issue. For her, she's injecting you with confidence. And I salute her because I have kids myself and I find that difficult to inject my kids with confidence because I only want them to be confident, right? I don't want the world, because the world is a mean place. We know this.
Right.
And for her to have the power to do that, to instill that confidence and that belief and to give you that power yourself to still smile even though people are putting negativity into you, it's such a beautiful thing. And I get goosebumps just even thinking about it. But how do you think your mom felt about that? Have you ever asked her where did you get the strength?
I think my mom was just a strong woman, just from my grandmother. My grandmother's a strong woman. We grew up in church, so my mom just always had faith. She always believed. She was, she was a single mom. My dad was absent from my life and, he had a drug addiction. So my mom was just a fighter. And one thing she didn't play about her kids. So my mom was just one of those women, what? She was confident. So it's one of those things. She knew who she was. I could see if she didn't know who she was, she already knew she was a strong Black queen. So it's all right, my kids are going to be strong and know that they're beautiful and they're going to be kings and, or queens, because I have a sister too. And that's what she instilled into me. Even from the moment when, 18 months old, she had me in pictures, included me in everything, not even without a question. Get in the photo, little James, So it's one of those things that she just always instilled into me. And I always go back and forth with her. Even when the kids would make fun of me in school, I would say, "Hey, Mom, are you lying to me?" We used to always go back and forth. And as a parent, she always reassured me. You're one of a kind. You're God's child. There's no one like you. You're unique. My mom never told me I was different. Society tried to tell me I was different. And the crazy thing about it, I knew who I was before the world told me who I was at such an early age. And if I'm going back, and this is why I talk about the mirror so much, and that monster that you mentioned, the monster was never real. It's just the words that I would hear from my peers. what happened to my face. I never knew nothing was wrong with me till my peers started telling me something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
That little boy,
That's insane.
that little boy I was seeing in the mirror, I just seen that's what my parents call me, little James, you know?
Right.
And so it's one of those things, once my peers started saying these different things, I was like questioning myself. And I remember when I gave that bully that smile and everything changed. I remember every single day before that moment when they would make fun of me, I would go in the mirror and say the opposite things. I'm not a cow. I'm not a zebra. No one raced out of my side of my face. Before I even knew about speaking life into yourself, before I even thought what positive affirmation was, I was doing that in the mirror at ages 6 or 7 years old, saying the opposite. You know,
that's so powerful.
Saying the opposite, you know?
Yeah. I've seen this episode where Cameron's talking about, he does it the coach's way, but he says he looks at himself every day in the mirror and says he's that guy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And it's like you see somebody I guess confident as him, and then talking about you being 6 years old and talking to yourself in the mirror and boosting yourself. That's just amazing, man. And just to hear what your mom was doing for you at such a young age set you up for success long term. Like nobody's perfect, and we go through the things that we go through, and we learn along the way. Like something somebody recently told me is like you build the plane as you're flying it, and I feel like that's life. Like that's just. That equates to life. This morning I was trying to, and you inspire me, by the way. I've always done videos where I talk to the people, right? I just try to give off positivity, and even, we all feel blue. We all feel some darkness every now and then, but I don't try to spit that out into the world because I feel like as humans, we already by nature automatically look at everything in the negative light. So it takes a lot of work. That's why I'm saying with your moms, it takes a lot of work to be positive. It takes a lot of work to look at life from a different scope, right? And this morning, that's what I was trying to give off. Like I shot a little video in the car on my way to work, and I was talking about like keep working, right? Like the whole concept behind that was not giving up. Of course, like we keep pushing, keep working towards whatever it is as long as it's something positive, and not having, if you start programming yourself to saying, I don't have another option but to keep moving, to keep going forward. And I compared it to something dark, which was death, right? When you have a loved one that passes away, we mourn, we never forget them, but we keep moving forward. And that's the only option that we have. So imagine if people would treat everything like their goals, their aspirations, their dreams, and that same type of thing where you just keep going. You don't stop. Yeah. And as I did that video, right when I didn't post it, you came up on my feed. And I was like, damn, like it inspired me to, and I didn't put it out. And usually, James, I put my stuff out because I'm like, I gotta, this is like the things that you feel, and, vitiligo, and I hope you see it this way. It's been a gift for you. Right? Because you were able to turn that. And then I always get, I speak in coach's way where I'm like, I'm not out here to get pimped. I do the pimping.
That's a fact. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, I got to take in like life as I get it and try to, turn, what do they say? Turn lemons into lemon pie. Like I got to figure it out. I got to go and get it. So for you, that's what you did. You were dealt these cards and you figured out a way to make it positive. You spoke about some of your childhood, and then you touched briefly on prison. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that and touch on, when you went in and how you turned that into a positive? Because it seems like the prison thing happened, you got incarcerated for a bit, but you came out and soon after became an author.
Right.
So you talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So before I go back to you, I was able to turn my pain into my power and my pain into my purpose, right? So it's one of those things, but, prison didn't happen till later on, down to like 17, 18. But I went to juvie at the age of 13, but for 2 years, for narcotics, for possession. My mom raised me to be a good person. I just took the wrong path just based off my environment. My environment was, it was all over the place, right? So not having a father figure, not knowing what a role model looked like, I chose the street route because it was the easier way for me to mask up, to fit in, stop getting asked the questions, what happened to your face? And I wanted to become someone. I just and growing up in an environment like that, you see the successful people will be the successful drug dealers. You see the athletes, the entertainers, and that's all you want to be, because you don't see the doctors, the lawyers, you don't see the plumbers, you don't see none of that.
Right.
So it's like one of those things that it was easy for me to kind of fit in. I already had the little DJ name because I started DJing at the age of 11. And then I started to venture out at the age of 13, I would sneak on a train to Metro North to go to Harlem. And this was when Harlem was Harlem.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't have a clue where I was at. I was 13, living a fast life, and it was like, man, I discovered 125th. And I discovered like all the little stuff on 125th, and I would bring it back up to where I was at in P scale. And it was like, man, who are you? Like, I was just a whole different type of dude. So I seen what the fast money was getting me. So I played around to where I got caught up, and then I got probation for like 2-3 years. I violate that, and then they end up shipping me away for 2 years in juvenile detention center. I did well there. I followed their rules, got out. You thought I would have learned. I had the opportunity to go back into my high school at 9th grade. And I probably spent a year, and then I dropped out, went right back into the streets, went back into my community, and started to deal drugs at such a high level, became a successful drug dealer. And not to glorify, I give God all the glory, but it's one of those things that, going to prison changed my life. Shaped me to the person who I was, because I had a long run. I had about a 6 to 7 year run. And it was one of those things, if I didn't go away to prison, I probably would have been dead or in jail for the rest of my life. I didn't think I was going to make it to 40 years old. I'm 44 now, so it was one of those things coming from the environments. You never, the escape, there's no exit out unless you get lucky, get someone in your ear and say, yo, invest and do this and that. The drug dealer's dream back then is barbershop, car wash, the simple thing. If we didn't talk about real estate, LLCs back then, that was unheard of kind of back then, unless you met someone who was already doing that. And when I got to prison, I was kind of depressed, but not really depressed. I was fighting my case for a while in the county for almost 2 years. So I had a state and federal case. So it was kind of crazy. It was all over the place, but I ended up getting a concurrent with the right lawyer, where the feds kind of superseded and kind of got my case concurrent. Had to get a special lawyer for that. So I was kind of stressed there, but prison wasn't really for me. And what I mean by that, I'm not going to say I wasn't built for it, but it just wasn't my place. I just knew I had to be someone in the world. And then I asked God, like on my bunk one day, who am I? And that was a question. He never answered me back. And it just something I kept asking like for 5 days straight, who am I? Who am I going to become when I get out? And I didn't know, because I was like, man, I'm just going to start my DJing company, half entertainment. And he had other plans for me, but prison really shaped my life, and then when I got out, reentry was a lot harder than me. I thought being different was harder, but reentry was different. Coming home, convicted felon, high school dropout, no skills at trade, I had to take a chance on myself. I had to believe in me. I didn't get my first job to the age of 29. I went into prison at the age of 18, 19. I didn't get out to 29. Because
you was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, And that's the one thing, just if I may, that I want to give off to the audience too, for whoever is watching or listening. If you're from the inner cities, you know what James is talking about. If you don't, I'm going to break it down very, very, very quickly. If you're born in an affluent area where you have success and you see what success, the American dream wise success, lawyers, doctors, people that go to school, typically, and I'm from Washington Heights, so we're kind of raised in the same. What we see as success is the drug dealer that pulls up on the block when you're at the fire hydrant or whatever it is, and a nice Benz, and you see the life, you see success. So that's what's glorified. So that's what you kind of idolize, right, as what success looks like. And then when you peel the onion back, you start seeing what they do to make that. And that becomes an option. Not that you have to take that route, but if you're hungry, right, and I get the hustle. And that's why I understand exactly what you're saying. And also the lack of guidance. Single parent home is very difficult to really, as difficult as it is, me and my wife raising our kids, and that's hard, right? So I could just imagine how it is. I came from a single parent home too. There's only so much that they could do. Whereas now the streets is raising the other side that you can't look after. So I just wanted to say that, because as soon as you said it, it's like I always remember seeing the hood drug dealer from our block who was pulling up in the Benz. And specifically, and I've said this in another one, he had a coupe. That back window went down. I lost my chips. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, this is what he does. By the grace of God, I never got involved in that. I never had it in me, because it takes a certain individual for you to dive into that. But
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, man, the influence and everything else. But I'm very familiar with the Heights, and it's just, it's just, that lifestyle for me, man. it's just a blessing just to be on the other side, to even have this conversation with you, man. I didn't think I would never see a day of light, right? So it's
Right.
just one of those things, man. And I never went back. I never turned my back. You
Right.
know, I got released at the age of 29 and I took the chance on me. I betted everything on me. And I just treated, at the time, I just didn't want to go back. So I figured it out, man. I didn't have it all figured out. I went to go apply for jobs, and not to knock these type of jobs, but these like low entry level jobs, ShopRite, Walmart didn't hire me. I'm like, what's going on? Like I was bugging.
Yeah.
And then I went into this sandwich shop called Panera Bread at the time. They just started opening up new franchise. I get hired there. And when I got hired there, I worked there 10 months, but my whole life changed within the 10 months. I was hungry. I was aggressive. I was getting after it every single day. And then some of my peers was looking at me from the town like, yo, you went from driving Bentleys, Mercedes to on a bus. What's going on, Half? So they in my ear when they see me like, yo, Half Man's on the bus. So I didn't understand that concept because now, you know, they only trying to remind me who I used to be. So they trying to trap me back in because this the talk. And then I was on positive time. This is who I always was because I was always a good person, even though I had the depressed moments in prison, but I overcame that and I got back to myself. I locked in and, you know, this is who I always was. I was never a violent drug dealer. I was always a kind, took my shirt off the back, gave you everything if you know, out of my pocket, if you wanted it. And I always moved like that. And I always moved solo or just for one other person. This is how I moved to this day. And it's one of those things, man, that when I got that job at Panera Bread, my whole personality came back. Because when I was in that street, I had I was wearing that mask that was just suffocating for years, just trying to fit in and being someone who I really wasn't. Now I was that young boy who my mom really raised. So when I got my job at Panera Bread, I was running the show there. People like me, and I started to like, man, my personality is really strong. So people started to come in like corporations, jobs. It's like, man, what are you doing working here? At the time, I was kind of like embarrassed to tell my story because I didn't know how. So I said, yeah, I just moved back up here from the city just to help my mom out, you know? And then, you know, Bank of America offered me a job. Apple offered me a job. And I'm like, man, I'm a 2-time convicted felon. I don't think they're going to hire me in the back of my head. Then I end up rolling with another job, which offered me 4 days, 3 days off. So I was like, man, I can get back into DJing.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I dibble-dab with that. And then I got to training because I got my certification in 2013. I've been certified since then, always doing my continuations every 2 years, always learning. So I got into that space doing that. And then I continued this one job for 4 years. And then I just kind of exit out because it wasn't for me. And I was like, man, at the end of the day, then I started that Vitiligo guy. And all I kept thinking is ownership. And how can I create something that I own? Because I knew like none of these corporates, I was just too much energy for them. They would never promote me. They would always try to keep me down. And I realized that I can't work for no one. So then I just started treating the game that I once was into my business. So when I wrote my first book, I did a self-publish. I was going to pitch it to a publishing house. I'm going to do this self-publishing because self-publishing became very hot. So I said, I'm going to treat it just like the game. So I just started pushing the books hand to hand. You know, so to this day,
So
I did
hustling taught you that.
So to this day, and it's not even about the numbers. I did about almost 275,000+ books off my first book, The Boy Behind the Face, since 2019. But people was like, man, how did you do that? So, you know, I could break it down really quickly. How I did that, I had the relationship with the schools. So I had them buy it in bulk. So at the time, before they started using the word hybrid, I kept it on Amazon. And what I did, people who I meet on a regular, like, yo, fam, I got a new book out. Go support it. Give them a link. That was just a 1-off, 2-off right there. And then what I would do, because you could buy the books at off the cost. Personally, do KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, is a third party, do Amazon. So when you get the books at off the cost, it could be, at the time I was paying $3.14 per book. And then I'll sell the book for $15. I'll give the schools the book. That was a huge margin. I'll give the schools the books at bulk price, but I told them they got to buy 20 or more books. And then I would reach out to like charity organization that align with like facial differences, awareness. Hey, you know, a lot of them need, you know, they want to write off things. So I'll reach out to them. And every time I did a school assembly or a read out loud, I make sure the teachers or the administration or the PTA would send out permission slips home to the parents. But I made it my responsibility. Then I would go into Times Square every Wednesday with the naked cowboy and go sell my books hand in hand. Like, listen, I was doing all these different things. So people like, man, How did you do the numbers? But then again, I'm a little different. I come from that. I wasn't afraid to go, risk my life every single day. And that game came with a whole different type of energy. Stick up kids, body snatchers. Your own people can line you up. Like this is a whole different era back then, especially when you was getting it. So I said, man, why I can't take the risk in my own thing that I'm trying to do positive now? So that's why I moved the way. This is why I moved the way I move now. And I always had this motto: don't be afraid to be amazing. Like my vision is my responsibility. I would tell people all the time, I went from selling dope to giving hope. Like at the end of the day, so for me, it's like I took something that was negative and flipped it into the positive. That's why I'm always wearing my shirt, positivity over negativity, It's just a reminder. I lived this for real,
Yeah, no, and it was dope is you hit the streets in a different way early on, and then when you turned it into a positive, you weren't afraid to hit the streets because it's exactly what you said. Like I was already dodging the cops. What am I dodging now? Like
that's a
people
fact.
like a no, like somebody say no, I don't want to buy your book. That ain't nothing.
No.
I keep pushing to the next one.
And the funny thing about it, I did something like in Bryant Park. I'll go to Bryant Park and I talked about what you just talked about. A no don't really mean nothing. A no is just getting that book in front of someone.
Yeah.
There's 8 billion people or more here in this world. I take my books everywhere I go. It don't matter where I go. And I'm not afraid to hit the ground because I like to get the experience. I like to be with the people.
Yeah.
Like I got a car. Like I like to take the train. I like to move around. I like to hit the pavement. This is where I get my feel on because I like humanity. I get high off of it. And it just
James, you're giving me goosebumps, bro. This
I get high off it. People look at me like, yo, fam, like you live a good life. What are you doing? I'm saying, I'm not you. We two different people. I just got a different frequency about me.
Yeah.
I just love people. I love being around people. I love connecting. And honestly, like for me, it's not even about being like a celebrity. And that's cool. But for me, it's just really standing with the people, really giving the people the energy. I think God put it on my spirit just to be this light. And I want people to understand that they had that light inside them to recognize their power. And I think this, my energy just coming across individuals just to, people say you do motivation speaking. No, I'm a motivator, man. I just want to motivate people.
Right.
I just want people to feel that energy, like through the computer or through the phone or just in real life, that transaction, online and offline, because my personality is the same way, both online and offline. I'm not just one way. No, I'm both ways,
Yeah. And you talk about, so like in you going from prison to then learning, and you said it changed your life, came out, you worked a couple jobs, and ultimately what inspired you to write that book? Because I know you spoke about the fact that, how you hustled the book, right? I love the word hustle. So I hope people don't take it, how you pitch the book to people, but what inspired you to write the book?
So what inspired me to write the book? I was getting some people who knew me, they knew my story. So they was like, they worked in like facility, like youth development places. So at the time, I think Obama left the White House and they started this program called the MBK, which is My Brother's Keepers program. And it was basically teaching young men of color how to put on suits, going like all occupational therapy stuff, like beginner skill set stuff. So they was looking for mentors. So my friend's like, man, I know you got a crazy story. Would you love to come speak to a group of kids? It's going to be chill. So I was like, man, I never did no public speaking before. And this is going back before I wrote the book. This had to be like 2016, 2017. So I agreed to do it and I did it. And I was like, man, this is great. And then I started getting calls from other schools. Can you come speak to our group of kids, blah, blah, blah. And then I just got tired because I was going into 6 boroughs. I was just speaking about the prison story. And I'm like, man, there's more to my story. A lot of the stuff I got into because I didn't like the fact that I was different. So I was trying to fit in. So I always wore this mask.
Right.
So I was like, man, I got to write a children's book, man, to get into the elementary schools. And that's how that came about. And I was like, I don't want to talk about vitiligo, but I want to talk about something deeper than vitiligo, a monster. So I don't even want to put myself in a box just for culture. I wanted to make my book more broad for everyone because I always related to everyone, even with my upbringing. All my friends were from different backgrounds. So I was like, yo, you know what? I'm going to call this book The Boy Behind the Face, and I'm just going to talk about this monster that I thought I saw in the mirror, but he wasn't real. So to kind of break that chain of the prison conversation. And the book I wrote really for kids and adults. When you read the book, it's only 24 pages, but the book is so powerful. It gears to a kid from 103 to 3 years old to 103. So when I wrote that book, I started offering read out louds for free to schools, and then it just turned to assemblies. Wow. Then it started turning from assemblies to presentations. And then I just never really looked back. So I was speaking at schools, probably like, I would say like 3 or 4 times a month throughout the district, outside of the district. And then I'll get real big presentations like keynote talks 5 times a year. But I made it my responsibility this year to start sharing more of my speeches online, which I have a lot of it since I've been speaking. But that's how I got into writing The Boy Behind the Face, because I really wanted to open up the doors in elementary schools. And I said the best way to write this book is for children, like make the illustration more children, because kids is the biggest advocates. Because I was that young boy, right? Where my mom instilled this belief and this person, and I developed my personality from 1 to 7. So now if my mom was angry because the way I look, and she probably thought it was her fault, I would have just came with anger and rage. But she was just had this compassion and love, and she seen me in a whole different light. And she always told me I was special, I was unique, I was one of a kind. I'm like, man, this is perfect for kids. When they read this book, they can get an understanding what differences look like, and they can know that it's just okay to be who you are. And then they can go home and advocate to their parents, like, this guy is so cool. He does so many different things after my presentation. Now the parents read the book, they're like, they email me privately, like, thank you, I needed this when I was a kid, you know?
Yeah.
So that was just a game changer when I said, man, this book is this legacy now, my mission, my legacy. This book is never going to die out, because now with the whole, when COVID came and they started calling the kids COVID babies, and now these schools are enrolling SEL, which is social emotional learning. All my books is geared towards the curriculums. Like, my phone never stopped ringing to this day because of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know something, and you referencing your mom again, like that's a piece in your mom in that book, and you're sharing that piece with the rest of the world through that book, which is powerful. I love that. I was thinking about something that I was also wanting to say is what also makes you shine bright too, for everybody, but also for the culture, is that you're one of us, no matter what. Like, the things you've been through, like, everybody could relate to different sections, and that's for everybody, different sections of your life. That's what I think makes you so special too, is that there's no limitations. As we spoke early on, like, you're not confined to a box. Like, you're a go-getter. You're doing so many different things. You're an author, an entrepreneur, a DJ, which I think is one of the flyest things in the world, because you bring happiness to wherever you're at. One thing that I love about DJs too, something that I do, I'm not a DJ, but whenever I'm in an atmosphere where I could throw on some tunes, is I like observing the room. And I'm sure that's what DJs do. Like, you feel out the vibe. And just when you play that right tune and you see people just jamming, you're like, yeah, I'm infecting the room with some happiness, with some good vibes. So I think that's wonderful, man. Moving on. So after you did the book, you found some success with that. And I tip my hat to you too, to be able to push over 250,000, but you said 274?
Over 275,000 and plus more. That's to this day. But then I got on other platforms that highlighted a book that just every day, it's passive income for me for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying?
That's amazing.
So it's one of the things when they say create one thing once, and it really could be a passive income. That's one of the things that is ownership. Both of my books, The Boy Behind the Face and My Daily Superpowers, is just ownership. Them books will never die out. It's just my legacy. It's passive income for the rest of my life. And it's up to me. It's my responsibility to continue to share the books, to continue to push the books, not stopping to push the books, anywhere I go. So, I'm, like you said, I do the DJ. It's distribution for me. I'm getting in front of a different audience every time who don't know that line of work.
Right.
So now they're like, man, let me tap into this guy. And they start to see that. I'm like, man.
James, question for you. So one thing I talk to the audience about a lot is just the courage that it takes for you to believe in yourself. And I know that's derived a lot from your mom, from childhood. But what's some of where do you gather the inspiration to even begin to think about being an entrepreneur? And the reason I say that is because the world is already, I feel like, automatically kicking you down. Like, when you spoke about, your friends seeing you on the bus when you used to ride in Bentleys and Benzes, and it's like, they're kicking you when they see you making moves, and then you went off to be an entrepreneur. Like, can you talk about that portion of where did you pull that encouragement or that power to feel like, yeah, I could go do this and then go and execute? Because I think that's important to give off to the audience is what was that did that for you?
I think just the experience, right? Coming up young, early on in my life, dipping and dabbling in the streets, that came with a whole lot of different hospitality and aggressiveness, right? So if I can survive that, and then, the courage and the strength just came because I was always putting myself out there at an early age because I was different, right?
Right.
And for me, I always say this: everybody wants different until different cost them acceptance. I accepted myself before anyone accepted me. So that's one thing that gave me the courage and the strength to kind of put myself out there. Of course, there was some doubts, getting released from federal prison, starting a whole new life over, right? Because being someone who grew up with vitiligo, that was an identity, right? Going to prison, that was another identity, right? Coming home from prison, that's another identity, and changing my life now to a whole nother new person. So I'm always involved. I'm always changing. So these are these questions that I'm thinking about, man, how would I actually succeed? And then again, it's like, I've always just been resilient. I always had this relentless in me, man, like not giving up. I always got back on my feet no matter what. If I fell off in the game, I always knew how to get back on. Same thing. So it didn't really start, the entrepreneurship didn't really start it to actually, I was a trainer at a corporate gym for 2 years, and I wanted to learn the business. And the business in the corporate world was a lot different with training. It was prospecting, call drives, retention. So the people just became numbers. So I worked this club for 2 years, and I succeeded within the first four to 6 months at 198 sessions a month, training clients. I was a beast at what I do. First of all, it helped my personality, and then me not being afraid to ask the people, hey, you want to come train with me or do assessment, blah, blah, blah. I'm James, the new trainer. Some of the trainers who I was working with, 14 trainers at this club, they was threatened. They started making all these rumors. So I dealt with a whole lot, but I dealt with bigger things than people doing this, right? So now I didn't know corporate structure. So I had to keep it cordial. All this new language I'm hearing, like in the corporate world, just to kind of keep things smooth. But I built my business, and then I realized my clients wasn't coming for the sports club no more. It was coming for me. So I said, all right, I got to take this leap. I got to get up out of here. I can't deal with this no more. So I took most of my clients with me, and I found other clubs where I can just kind of sublet and pay as I bring my clients. I was going to open up a gym, a small boutique gym, but then I wrote my first book. The first book took off. The gym never happened because I'm only one person. I couldn't manage a gym with 108, 90. That was 8 to 12 clients a day, 5 days a week. Some days I'll reschedule and be a weekend warrior with them, but I took that leap then. Man. And when I took that leap, I knew I was going to be okay because I always had that fight in me. I had that dog in me no matter what. And if worst came to worst, if nothing would have worked out, I would have went back and found a job. That's just, I was okay with that. And my pride, my ego was already put to the side. I already went through riding the bus, going to prison, coming home, working for 10 cents a week or 10 cents, 15 cents a month in prison. So it's like one of those things. What else can I lose?
Right.
Like pride already been whatever. So I just, my work ethic, I think a lot of it comes from my father, right? My father was the first Black man in our community to clean banks at an early age, and they trust him with the keys, before he got into his drug addiction. So I have a lot of his work ethics as well. I was always told that, but not giving up. But and for me, the courage just came from, man, I had too much to lose, man. I just always wanted to bet on myself by just doing the right thing, and it felt good doing the right thing. I didn't have to look over my shoulder, and I was doing a beautiful thing. So I turned a negative into a positive in a whole nother light. I used this condition in a way where people might look at as a disadvantage, took advantage of it in a positive light, in a whole nother light. So it was one of those things as I started creating the build. And even though my ideas were so wild, people didn't even my media family looking at me like, man, this, they just caught up on a small town thing. They never even thought about the bigger picture. So that was just unbelievable in their eyes. They kind of like, you going to really do that? How can you afford this? It's not like I'm proud of you. It's like, how can you afford all this stuff you're doing, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, that can be discouraging too, because they're not even seeing they don't even not even give you that motivation to push because they don't even see that in themselves.
Yes.
But as time went by, it's just like, man, this is real. I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing it. I never look back, but I think the courage and the strength just came from, my experience and just having the evidence of doing the work over the course of the years. Cause I could have gave up a long time ago when I could have, it's so easy to be isolated and create that safe space, right? So I never was isolated because of the way I look, right? When I got out of prison, I never hid myself and say, you know what? I don't belong in this world. All along, I knew I belonged. That's just the energy I just carried on my chest, let's do it. And then I always knew I was special because just even at the age of 13, tempting to get on the Metro North to go to Harlem and just venture out and just kind of do your own thing.
Yeah.
So that these little things that I thought about, like, man, like, you got this. Like I always been like special. Always been
Right.
special since a little kid. So it's just like, man, it just made sense that I was going to be successful and be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know how. And then I was told I couldn't read and write because I was placed in a small, and then I became an author. You know, so these little different things. So when I look at all these different things,
talk about a middle finger to everything.
but these are the things, like a high school dropout, right? But listen, I'm successful, like, you know, so these different things. And I think when I look at success, man, of course people want to make money and do their thing. But for me, what helped me was just really growth.
Yeah.
And what changed my life to be successful, how can I help? How can I serve others? Then everything else just flow, I mean.
Yeah.
Everything is flow.
It's a beautiful thing because the way I compare it to in my brain too is just like you know, you have the kid that falls off the bike and never gets back on, right? You got on that sucker, went down the hill and took it as fast as it could go.
That's a fact.
And made it work.
Yeah, and then I was told, man, look at your skin. Why you look like that? You're a cow. There's some people who can't even pull back layers. People still feel, you know, the kid who called them ugly or fat or you're not good enough. They're still going with that narrative.
Yeah.
But like, honestly, like that's the thing. Like if I couldn't bet on myself and take the chance on myself, then who else will? You know, it all starts with you, man. This is all mindset. So for me, that courage always been in me. I always was like brave. I was always brave to look beyond that mirror and see what was on the other side. You know, I think that's what helped me kind of in all these spaces that I am. Of course, I struggled growing up. You know, I had some doubts, but I knew how to overcome these doubts really quickly. That's not you. Keep it going. Keep it moving, you know? And I just kind of carry it that way. It just...
So being that you knew that, like and I always look at it like the way I tell people is, you know, everybody goes through depression, their moments of sadness. And I always tell people that I go through one good cry a year, right? Where I just gotta, the weight of the world just gets too heavy and I just gotta, you know what I'm saying, get that up off me. What would you tell somebody that's like right now going through things similar to the things that you may have gone through that you think can shed some light on perspective of we can easily look at things one way, but if you choose, you know what I mean? Like what's something that you can give off to somebody in the audience that may be going through something that can help them out?
You got to put challenges in front of yourself every single day. The uncertainty happens every day. The adversity happens to the best of us. And the circumstances, you can't change it. You must change yourself first. So going back to all that, you have to do the work. There's no way you skipping the process. Everybody wants that promise, but you got to do the work. You got to do the work. And most of the easiest things in life to do is the most hardest things to do. You got to challenge yourself. You got to do it. You got to put the work in. And you're not broken. You're just becoming. It's just a part of the experience. Right. You know, I think a lot of times we start things and we quit. We give up on ourselves really quickly. But let me be the possibility. Let my story inspire you to say, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. This is what we do it for. I do it for us, not just me. It's bigger than me. And I say that wholeheartedly and genuinely, you know, that it's just bigger than me. I just know I was once that little boy who didn't see myself. And the mission is, you know, use my differences to make a difference, to give other people voice and power who don't see themselves, you know?
I love that what you said, you know, we're not broken, we're becoming. That's powerful, man. That's real powerful.
I think that's what most of us think of ourselves when we think of doubt, right? Doubt is just, I stopped believing myself. I'm broken. Nobody sees me. I want to change the world, and it's really simple for me. I want people to be seen, heard. That's all I wanted. I wanted to be seen. I just felt like I was so different than most of my peers because vitiligo wasn't a topic back then. It was only the comparison about Michael Jackson. All I wanted to belong and be seen. All along, I knew I wasn't broken. I just wanted to be seen. But my mom always instilled that into me. I mean, I give my mom a lot of credit, but I had to come to terms with that. I had to make a decision. Don't get it twisted. I had to make a decision on my own, too, to see myself the way my mom saw me. Her job was as a parent, and she did a good job at that. Hey, son, there's nothing wrong with you. My job as a kid, an adult, is to take her words and start doing that work and start seeing myself the same way my mom see me. Not how the world see me, because I could have said, this is how the world see me. I'm going to go with that. It's so easy with peer pressure and all these other stuff, but I went with my mom. And then I had to come to terms. I had to make a decision. So it's all a decision. You're not broken, you're becoming. Because I thought I was broken. I thought I saw that monster too. I overcame that and I said, there's no monster, you know? So this is why I use these choice of words, because I know it's a real thing. It's a real feeling. And not only I have vitiligo, but I wore mental health on my face, my actions, my feelings, my emotions, how I felt about myself. But we didn't talk about it. We just kind of dismiss it. But
Right.
for years, I wore mental health on my face. People staring at me, looking at me, asking me questions, pointing, thinking it's contagious, do it wipe off, all these different things. Crazy questions, you know?
How do you deal with that now? In when you see that,
Oh,
like if
man.
somebody's looking at you, you smile, look at you.
Yeah. So I smile. So I got a lot of different things now because I've been living through these experiences, right? So it's crazy. I could feel a kid already staring at me, tugging at his mom's leg already. I just get it, right? So the parent, it's crazy because we still live in a world where some parents is not educating them kids what differences look like. So the mom is like, I'm so sorry, or the dad is like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, why are you sorry for it? Just vitiligo. Maybe you think it's ice cream, vanilla, or chocolate, right? So depending on the kid, right? And then how I deal with it is I educate them really quickly. Then I have the books with me all the time, you know? Or I say, hey, this is a good lesson book here, blah, blah, blah. I'm James, by the way. I make people feel comfortable, right? Because I just know how it is. Like, I want to educate people who don't know about it. It's just a different level of understanding nowadays. For me, it's this quick transaction. And they thank me so much, like, thank you. But I say, you know, it's important to let your kid know about you. He's going to see people a lot different in this world, because even though I took it lightly, there's some people who just get crazy, just a crash out. What do you mean? Why? You know? So this is the thing too, especially with vitiligo, what I've been seeing in the world today. Even though there's so many people living with it, I'm just so thankful that I come from the older generation, that we come from the older generation of it, because the information now is so overwhelming. Then we got social media. There are so many people who are going online for the validation, for the instant gratification, for the likes, to follow, because they're so striking now. But behind closed door, they don't even like what they see in the mirror. They feel like a public failure. That's just the truth. So many conversations I have with individuals, it's just like a blur. It's like a substance. They go there, they get the love, the validation. It's just a high for them. Then behind closed door, they don't even like what they see. You know how many people I meet offline with this condition, and they one way online. When I meet them, they just shut down. I think because I'm the truth. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not cocky, but I'm just the truth, because I really lived it. I'm really confident. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like one of those
you
things.
make it look cool, man. Like, to be honest with you, that like and you mentioned this being your brand, but it's much bigger than just vitiligo.
Right.
But I identify like it makes it easier to recognize you, like that's James, but you make it look dope to top it off with all the things that you do. So for the little kid in me, because we all have an inner child that you know, hopefully we never let die. And I embrace that inner child. The inner child in me was like, damn, he made it look dope. Like I've seen the model Winnie that we mentioned earlier, and that was cool. But I guess it's the male figure now that made it look different for me, where I'm like, oh, shit, he's DJing, he's in front of people, he's talking, you know, he's giving off positivity. And I don't think like people realize, again, and I know I said this before, it's not the easiest thing in the world to wake up and want to be positive, right? And then you grew up with something that, you know, you face some issues with people growing up, and it's powerful that at a young age you smiled at a bully, and it freaked him out, where he's like, damn, like nobody's ever done that for me. It
changed everything. That simple smile changed everything. So never underestimate a power of a simple smile, man.
Yeah,
it's one of those things, bro. And it's one of those things. It's one of, not to cut you short, but it's one of those things too. What I speak about on a day-to-day basis, it's not the most attractive conversation, especially when it comes to culture. Positivity, self-image, body positivity, skin positivity, just being a happy individual. People is like, man, you know, so some people, and it's so easy to be destructive too.
That's what I mean.
I can be destructive. I have a lot of friends who's in the industry and like, yo, bad fam, I'm back in the DJing world. Yo, give me a cosign. But I don't want to lead with entertainment and I'm not knocking it, but I want to lead the way I want to lead. I want to champion in this. You can have joy. You can smile. You can be happy. You can be positive. Because when I first came home at them prison doors, there was whispers, yo, your half is too positive. So it made me think about, man, the culture don't even understand how to have good energy. If the block is whispering like, man, he's too happy, man, he's on a different time. He on some weird shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Before they was using the word weirdo, like, man, he on a different time. Or he just sound too white. Like just because I'm using words like I'm using fantastic or extraordinary and all these different words. Like the whispers now is like a full circle moment where people that look like us is promoting positivity. They talk about the new riches being at peace and all this. I've been on this type of time. You know, man. I've been pushing this. I've been pushing the show. It just shows like, the work that I'm doing. A lot of times I never question it. A lot of people probably was in this space. They probably quit because they didn't get that acceptance that they were looking for. I know I'm in the right space and I'm always going to be in this space. I don't care if it's not attracted. I know I'm doing important work,
Yeah.
Like I said, it's so easy to be that model, but I'd rather be a role model, man. I can tap into that world because high fashion champion vitiligo, and I've been champion myself in. You tell me, you know what I'm saying? So like, this is what it is. And this is what this all means, man. There's no limit to who you could become and who you could be. This is why this is empty. This is why I do so many different things to show people the way.
Why do you have this part empty? I know you mentioned offline that you could have had the vitiligo on it, but you chose to.
It's crazy because I meet so many people. They're like, man, your company's called that vitiligo, but why you don't have vitiligo? And I said, man, it's not about me. And you know what I'm saying? It's bigger than me because when I looked at superheroes and I look at like Batman, I look at they brand identity, or I look at Nike, Just Do It, and I look at the Geico Frog, the insurance company. I look at different brand identity. I'm like, man, I need something that is just empty because I've always been doing that. The inner work, the external work my entire life. And anytime I operate from the outside, I always got into trouble. It led me to the wrong thing. But when I started to do the inner work, man, it was beautiful. So I was like, man, a lot of people are lost. A lot of people don't have the tools to do the inner work. So I want people to identify with this by putting themselves inside this. When they look at that this is a superpower. And then all the things that I do is all based off building creativity around it. So there's no limit to what you can do or who you may become. And that's why I put this in empty space. It's just one of those brand identities that when you see it, you be like, man, that's that vitiligo guy. Like, and so that's one of the things. That's why I created that as an empty space. I want people to like that. That's the process. You got to do the work. It's an empty space.
Right.
It's
That's
you
awesome.
always it's just a journey. It's a journey that is everlasting. Like, you got to just keep going. And I'm continuing to create. I'm continuing to still build. And that's why I say I'm not just an author speaker. I'm building. This is what I'm building. But I want people to understand that they can be creative too and create where they at. Because at the end of the day, I think a lot of times we limit ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves. And it's okay. You could be dimensional. You could try different things. I tried one thing once and it worked. But then I started to build off that. I wrote a book and I said, you know what? They need my message in the school. So I started to do public speaking off that. I started doing read out louds. I started doing assemblies. Now what I'm starting to do with schools now, I'm doing workshops. Now, when I just got back from Atlanta, I'm actually creating curriculum for teachers who can just teach kiddos about differences without me being there.
Powerful.
Just talking about hair, skin texture, eye color, favorite foods. I broke it down to 2 different tiers, like from K to 2nd and then 3rd to 5. So the curriculum would be a lot different. But it's whatever I teach in the schools already about differences in my story, I just broke it down and then broke it up into couple of different grade levels for teachers to start rolling that out.
Positivity. Man.
I'm just going to use my resources that I have now with the schools and get a couple of teachers on board with it. And then hopefully I can get it New York State approved. I will go up to Albany myself to Board of Education and just advocate about it and see what school districts I can get into, If not, I demo it myself and then see how I can get it rolling out. Because teachers they have to get a certain amount of credits now. So
that's so dope. Like, I'll be honest with you, James, like just to hear the goals that you're setting out for, I'm not used to hearing people or being around circles like that. So not only and not in a selfish way, but it's awesome to have you on the pod for people to hear the moves that you're planning to make and the things that you're doing right now. Again, not limiting yourself, not putting yourself in a box. You're like, fuck a box. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. One thing that I'll say too, that like I heard recently, and this is an old saying, but like we always, as humans, we think, what if it doesn't work out? Like that's always the thing. Like you come up with a bright idea and it's always like, what if it doesn't work out? What if I do this all for nothing? But what if it does work out?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like I think if we switch that mentality to that, where instead of putting doubt in your head and you put some what is it called? Some confidence behind your word, because only you know who you are and how far you are willing to take it. So I think in people switching it from, you know what I mean? Like, what if it doesn't work out? So what if it does?
Right.
And how, and to think about the person that you'll become if you take that step. I think that's so powerful. So aside from that, like I know you already kind of set up what's next for you and the things that you have on on the horizon for yourself? Anything else besides that you're working on, or something that you're striving to reach in the future?
So what I'm working on now, I do have a nonprofit, which is a 510c3, and I had this nonprofit for maybe 4 years now. But I always been self-funding my own nonprofit, do my LLC and do all the work I've been doing. I never really wanted to run around like I'm just a cost. So this is why I do motivational speaking, and I'm an author, and I do multiple training, and I just self-fund my own nonprofit. But what I'm doing now, I'm really more receptive now on collaborations and partnerships, and really just raising the awareness around that Vitiligo Guy Foundation. And that Vitiligo Guy Foundation, not just educating people on vitiligo. No, it's helping people with confidence, self-esteem, bringing resources about financial advisors, and teaching kids basic life skills and everything else. Especially we want to really work with at-risk. We really want to work with the disadvantaged, and it's just doing a lot more work in the community. So I think with the partnerships and the collaborations will help me get some funding and really get this thing taken off worldwide. So I'm looking at the bigger picture for my nonprofit, instead of just funding the schools who can't afford my service, who can't book me for the fees. That's what I've been doing. So I would pick like schools who couldn't afford me as a speaker to come in or do a read out loud. So I just funded do my nonprofit and give back, give books. But now I want to take it to a bigger scale where I want to, do a lot more things with the nonprofit, like, with kids, confident building, anti-bullying, maybe partnering with the Special Olympics, partnering with the No Place for Hate programs, either my buddy, all these different .orgs, face.org, just different charities all over the world, just partner with them, even entertainers or whatever, just to try to get the nonprofit really out there. I really wanted to kind of make it like a profound name in the world,
Right.
where we can do a lot of funding and giving back, really giving back. That's what I'm working on now.
And then you had mentioned something, and we're about to wrap up too. And I know you, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me.
No, we can speak all day, bro. We here, man. We here. Hey, we locked in, man.
Yeah, man. I just think it's so inspiring. Like I said, again, just to hear somebody kind of lay out the things that they've been successful at doing, the things they're planning on doing, and also just to give the viewers and listeners a story of how it all came to fruition, all the adversities that you faced, literally everything from childhood all the way till now, and to hear the hunger and the determination that you have, where I haven't heard one thing where you would let up and be like, oh, if it doesn't work out, I'll try something. You said if it doesn't work out, then I'll do it on my own. That's what the whole purpose of this pod is, to bring situations and individuals like yourself where it's like you find the way, like you figure it out. There's a lot of things that in life we didn't know how to do, and then we learn how to do them. And coming from a person like myself, the comparison that I could give you is my wife loves DIYs, adores them, but she doesn't do them. She passes them off to me, right? And at one point, I didn't know how to use a saw. I didn't know how to work with my hands, and I developed these skills. And what that did for me, James, is it made me a more confident person, because I'm like, I can create something, right? I did hip hop in the past. I've done different things. I was never really afraid to get up on stage. I did the New Yorican Poets Cafe, and I did slams and stuff like that, because I always felt like I wanted to give off something to the world. And I was always channeling, like Jay-Z says, we all have genius talent and we haven't tapped into it yet. And we have to spend our life trying to find that as soon as possible so we can take it to the next level. And I know I rambled a little bit, but that's what I'm talking about. That's why I enjoy this conversation with you, because I'm hearing the hustle, I'm hearing the determination and the drive that you have, and the willingness to figure it out. Like you mentioned something before where you're like, well, if it doesn't go this route, then I could take it off independently on my own. Like you're self-funding a nonprofit, which is huge. I've never really heard that before.
Which I've been doing for the last 4 years since I had my nonprofit. And I just now openly started speaking about it because I never really wanted to be a cause. So it's like, right. I started it because I was still trying to figure out, because I do have an LLC. I had that Vitiligo Guy LLC too. So I didn't want to compromise both of them. And right. I never really ran a nonprofit. A nonprofit, the tax and the structure is a lot more difficult too. You don't want to get jammed up with that, with the taxes. So I've been learning as I go, but then I learned how to actually just self-fund it myself. So that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years. And then I have friends now that I'm meeting in rooms like, man, you got a foundation?
Right.
what's going on? How can we collab? How can you help? How can you partner? So now it's like, man, now I can take the nonprofit to the next level. Now I can hire people, bring people on, and just give back in a tremendous way, more than I can. Maybe I was doing 10x myself, but now I could probably 50, 100x it, and do a lot bigger and better things with the nonprofit, and introduce these kiddos to like real mentors and a better quality of life, and just do some real big things. And my goal is to really reach out to LeBron James' team too, is because he got I Promise, and that's what they do too. But he got a whole compound of facilities. So just really like with the NBA Cares, all these .orgs. So I'm positioning myself to kind of like get with some of these big organizations to, collaborate in partnership. That's it. If not, I'll figure out a way to fund it myself. But this is all about collaboration and partnership. I think I have a gift. I do have a gift, I would say, where I can go into these spaces and we talk about inclusivity, right? Because a lot of corporations are selective with it. But like you said, I come off as just a cool individual. Like some of these kids look at me as anime and whatever their imagination may be today, because we're in a different type of time. So I think these organizations realizing that, man, this guy's special. This guy does so many different things. So when I go into these rooms, I have the experience and I have the evidence. So I just know how to win over the rooms these days. And I'm at the right place at the right time. And how I move and network is just with confidence. And I ask all the right questions and I listen. And I'm good at following up too, because I know that first conversation is going to build something special.
Right.
That's important. That's just important. That was going to
be my next question is,
yeah.
How do you navigate? What is your secret to networking? I'm always interested in hearing the way people network and how people work the room. I think that's a gem within itself.
That's important. I'm about to put a video out too, so I'm gonna give it to you. So it's one of those things about networking for me, and what always works best for me is basically being confident, right? A lot of times we get in rooms and we get starstruck, or depending on who we actually going to be networking with, we forget about what we even had on the table, what we had to offer. We forget who we are. So it's important to be confident, be ready, make sure you actually perfecting that craft and that gift that you have, and you're working on it countlessly, because at the end of the day, that opportunity only might come one time. So you have to be confident. The second I would say is be genuine with your questions. Be real genuine with your questions, because that's so important. And then make sure you listen, because even though you might be an expert in your space, this is the person you're trying to network with. So make sure you just listen, because people read the body language. They're like, man, he's difficult. I can't even coach him. I can't even work with him because he's not even listening. Right. Got a great idea, but he's not a good listener. So, and then the next thing too, make sure you follow up, because at the end of the day, you are that first conversation can build into something special. But that's the thing, man. It's just, having the confidence, asking genuine questions, make sure you listen, and make sure you follow up, because that first conversation can build up to something special, And
I love that.
Communication is the key. Like, you can't go in these rooms. You gotta pick and choose your rooms, and you don't have to be polished. Just be yourself. But just make sure you have the proper etiquettes and you know how to navigate these rooms depending on what rooms you are in. Because there's so many people who look into my life and they see the glory, but they don't really know the story, right? So this didn't happen overnight that I got into these rooms and I know how to network. It was just practice make perfect. I'm not afraid to be amazing. Don't be afraid to be amazing. I'm not afraid to get that rejection or that no, So one of those things that just keep showing up. And then a lot of times these people who are in these positions, they are just like you. They was hungry just like you. They just got in there for a reason, because they was ready for it, right? So your opportunity will come, and I always believe to stay down till you come up. But I'm in a whole different space though, with the books, the self-image conversation, the self-love conversation, especially being a Black man talking about, it's kind of vulnerable, but it's not vulnerable, but I'm showing people the way too at the same time. So it's a whole different conversation. So it's like one of those things. I'm in a whole different lane when I'm talking about positivity, self-love, vitiligo. But then again, my story can relate to all walks of life. So people gravitate to that. So it's just a blessing for me to still DJ, because that kind of bridges a lot of the gaps too, because it's still it's entertainment, it's culture, it's universal. And people are like, man, he could DJ and he's a vibe. So I almost got out of DJ, because the people, I was working with someone with a PR one time, and she was like, man, you just might as well be a trainer, speaker, and an author. And I'm like, nah, DJ is part of my life. you know?
Right.
And I think that person didn't really get that world. So I did it my way. So I just didn't work with that PR. I just did it my way to continue to DJ. So when I go to school presentation, they ask me to do assembly, I'll bring my DJ controller and I play like happy good songs for the kids, pump them up. They're like, man, he's cool. So that just makes the kids to break that cycle of just being a doctor, lawyer, or a dentist. There's nothing wrong with that, but they could be that YouTuber. They could be that creator. Because that's just to show them that, like, man, this guy do so many different things. And it's crazy because it's a full circle moment. One of my good friends, I used to speak at his basketball clinic. He just got the principal job at the Obama School in Yonkers. And he told me, hey, yo, James, I need you here every Friday for an hour, playing an announcement, uplifting song for my staff and my students. We rolling that out September to October.
That's dope.
So it's just one of those things, man. Like, so it's just like, it's energy, it's impact. And, but yeah, it's just one of those things that, you gotta go in these rooms. I forgot where I left off at, but yeah.
No, we were talking about networking and
so networking. Yeah. So I gave you the game for the networking. Yeah.
I'm big on taking notes, man. I think it's very important because you wanna remember that. Basically, what you gave off, and for the people that listen to this, number one is to be confident, which is very important, and that takes work, right? It's not just like you wake up and you can, right? Some people just
gifted and natural like that, but 9 out of 10, a lot of people forget. They'll fumble because you might meet the right person at the right time, and not saying that right person at the right time can change your life, but it just gives you opportunity because when you cross paths with that individual, and the more they see you out here grinding and doing that work, the more they be like, man, he's up to something. Let me find out what he got going on.
Especially so a lot of times, if there's an opportunity.
Yeah, right.
I always compare this to, I think I forgot what, it was 50 Cent, right? I love 50. He said that he was talking about Designer, the rapper, that he visited his office when he had that song that he blew up.
Panda.
And he was going to sign him, and he's like, all right, let me see what else you got. And he said, what you mean? That's all I got. He didn't sign him, right? And then he compared it, he's like, but when you compare that to somebody like Kevin Hart, who's hitting the clubs every single night, putting in work, when it was his time that he went off, he just took off because he was ready. He's been putting in that work.
Right.
So he is like, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And I think that's the thing too, when people see motion, right, and an opportunity presents itself, it's easier for somebody to want to give you a hand because it's like they don't have to do too much. Like you're already there. You just needed, somebody to open the door real quick and say, come in.
Right. Sometimes it's guidance. A lot of times people are like, yo, you need a speaking coach? You need it? Nah, I just need guidance. You know what I'm saying? That's all I need is guidance. I'm not trying to be polished. I'm just speaking from the heart, telling my story from my experience and my evidence. That's it. This is, so that a lot of it's just guidance, as far as when you get into these rooms, it's guidance. That way you don't really, you hear about record labels doing the bad deals, or you're not knowing how to read like a one-sheet contract and all these different things. Or even if you're a content creator or a digital content creator, reading all these agreements that these brand deals try to give you with these affiliate deals. There's a whole lot that goes on. And I hardly take brand deals, and I get so many different brand deals because I do have on Instagram I got over 100-something thousand, but on TikTok, I got almost 500,000.
Wow.
So it's like one of those things. Them brand deals come in like clockwork. I just look at them and just stroll past them, But I can definitely kill it on that side if I really wanted to tap into that world. But then again, I don't really want to wash down my brand by just doing, digital content creation and really kind of like selling out on the things that I'm doing, if it don't align. So I just kind of stay true to my message and true to who I am. Definitely there's a bag over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's just the truth.
I always say something, man. I always say, and it's not a phrase that I coined, but it's like, not all money is good money. And I believe that. I'll walk away from some money if it don't feel right. And I have.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about it. Because I don't look at people like, yo, why you just don't do influencer work? I say, I'm not an influencer. I'm someone who's really trying to move people. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. That's just, if I said I was a digital content creator or an influencer, then definitely I'll be doing lifestyle stuff and all that. But nah, I'm just someone who just really want to, help people see themselves differently. I just want to do it my way. And the right brands will come in line. I've done work with some brands that align with the mission and the message, and DJing, if it comes with music and stuff like that, that's cool. If it aligns with what I'm doing, boom. If it's, like a skincare, I get PR package for skincare and stuff. That's cool. But I'm not, if it don't align with my mission and my message,
It
I'm
makes
not
no
gonna,
sense.
I'm not gonna just do the opposite. It don't make no sense to push something to my audience that I don't really stand on. They know I'm not really pushing that. And a lot of content creators do that too. Like, oh, well, I've been using this for years, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Nah, I haven't been using none of that for years. You know what I'm saying? Unless I was just, if that's something I wanted to do, but I can't do that. The thing is, right? I know how to make money. And I could have definitely said, hey, I got 5 things I could tell you will help me regain back my pigment and just show them all the before and after pictures of my vitiligo. And just really hone in on that story and have all these people convinced to sign up and get on an email list and make money. But that's not just me. I'm not doing it. I know how to manipulate. I know how to be destructive. I know how these are the things. I'm a creative thinker. I'm emotional intelligent. I know how to solve problems. I navigate my way through this world by being positive. I solved all my problems. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just really good at looking in the outside and the inside of how people operate, how they do things, why they do the things they do, you know?
Right.
So I'm just like, man, nah, I will never do that.
Yeah.
You know, I never do that. So like, you know, I can definitely say, hey man, you know, I took this for my skin, or go get a brand deal with a pharmaceutical company. Hey, let me be the face of this. You know, I see you guys got a new cream. No, I'm not going to do that to the community. I'm not going to do that. I'm pushing acceptance. You know, I'm pushing, work on yourself. Cause no matter what, if I'm like this or like this is not my greatest gift. My greatest gift is how I see myself every single day. It's my thought process. It's my attitude on the way of life. It's remaining positive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing, man. Like that leads me to this question, and like I typically, it varies, but you mentioned God in the beginning of this pod, and like family. What role does God play in your life?
Everything, man. I'm the creation through him, man. You know, my grandmother's a pastor. She got saved years ago. She has a church up there, my hometown, Peaceville. And I got a praying grandmother, man. That's why I think I'm here. You know, you got a praying grandmother. You know, it's one of those things that she always, her prayers protected me in so many different ways. But, God just, without God, I wouldn't be here. Everything that I went through in life, he's the source that, got me to the other side. Just his prayers and just having greater things for me. And this life that I'm living now, man, it's just all through him, all through him.
Yeah, that's powerful.
I didn't do this by myself. I put the work in, of course. I mean, I put the work in, the effort, but like through him, this is why I'm here, why I'm doing it. It's just his spirit in me, really doing the work. Me talking about vitiligo, me doing all these different things, creating books. I could have been doing other things.
The warrior that he built inside of you in giving you vitiligo and what you've done with it, I mean...
Could have been doing a whole lot of other things, man, with my life right now, Could have been ripping and running, man. Partying every night, doing what everybody else doing. But I stepped into that unknown. He said, yo, James, step into that unknown.
Yeah.
I got something special for you. Just be patient, and for me, it never really, the thing is, I lived both sides, right? I was a successful drug dealer, had it all, and then I lost it all. So I've seen both sides. Money don't move me. None of that moves me, man. What moves me is really helping folks, man. Seeing people happy. Humanity. Be the change. Be real. And that's what I want to do. I want to change the world. Like, it used to be one person at a time, but now I'm just doing it in multiple, like any room I get into, man, I want people to know that you don't have to shrink yourself. Just be yourself,
Yeah. I love that. Cause it's, being vulnerable with you now is like, it's a battle that I put up because sometimes I feel like I have to tailor myself depending on what my audience is like. And I don't mean that in a, know your setting. Like it's mostly like, how I want to be perceived. And sometimes I feel like I may dumb down or rise to like, I'm always changing my frequency to fit the room that I'm in. And something that I'm practicing is just being me, cause I love me, but I don't love me enough. I'm assuming, right. In me learning myself to just be me everywhere. And I've always said like, the person you see is what you get, but sometimes in certain areas I'm not. And I think it's self-discovery because sometimes I'm a little bit of an introvert, rightfully so, in certain areas. And then sometimes I'm an extrovert. I flow in different frequencies. And sometimes I second guess myself because I wonder, is it because I don't want, you know what I mean? Like I haven't fully reached that side of full-blown confidence to just be me all the time. And it's weird because I feel like I sound like a little bit of a hypocrite because a lot of times I say what you see is what you get for the most part. but there is that self-doubt sometimes. And I had a whole episode on self-doubt. And that's why everything that you said is inspiring. Like even you talking about writing a book, like it's inspired me. The way it makes me feel, James, is, and I know that this has to be something that you feel is like, if you did it, I could do it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, like this man has done some wonderful things, and it's inspiring enough to whereas like he did that. Like, you know, it's possible to do that.
Right.
It's possible to move people. It's, you know, the possibilities are endless as long as you're willing to put in the work.
Absolutely. This is why I continue to do what I do, because I know someone out there is inspiring. It's inspiration, right? So like just for you just to kind of acknowledge that you have your up and down. You're doing the work. A lot of people just let it go, like I just like whatever. But for you to actually say that and say, "Hey, you know what? I might be my own biggest hypocrite, but that's still doing the work because you acknowledge, you self-acknowledging it. That means you're still approving you're doing the work. When you don't acknowledge it, then you have to question yourself about it, right?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, man. Like I can go in the middle of a project and still smile, man. It's one of those things, and most people ain't smiling in the middle of a project. Like what's so funny? Because we grew up on that. What's so funny? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you smiling so much? It was always a sign of weakness. You always had to put that mask on. But like at the end of the day, man, like I realized, man, that's just nothing but anger and this buildup from over the times of the years, just that masculinity that comes in from the environments that we come from. And I want to break them chains. You know what I'm saying? So if I was in prison smiling, man, I know I can come out in the world and smile, man, because it's like I've met some of the best people in there. You know what I'm saying? That changed my life. You know what I'm saying? And not only my life, but it made me a better person to who I am and to see life out here, because you hear these stories like, oh, nothing but horrible people go to prison. No, I met some of the best people in my life in prison, and it shaped my life to who I am. It changed my life. If I didn't go through that, like I said, that was a major reset for me. I lived a very destructive lifestyle when I was out here, and nobody didn't want to tell me like, yo, look at you. I was overweight. I didn't take care of myself. I was drinking every night, partying every night, and nobody never dared to challenge me on that because they didn't want to lose that friend who was successful, who had everything, all the materialistic things, partying every night, popping bottles. So they never wanted to tell me that. That's the best thing that ever happened to me in prison. I looked at that nasty mirror that was all plastic, all scratched up. And I said, I don't want to be this version anymore. Straight up. And I never looked back. And I had to sacrifice and cut a lot of people off. I had to kill that old version of who I was, fam. You know? Once I killed that old version of who I was, and I didn't care what people thought of me, because people only had a perception of me, and people didn't really know who I really was, because a lot of people wasn't that close to me. So it was just like the town would talk, oh, he used to be that dude, he used to be that, you know what I'm saying? So they try to remind you, but then when you just kill that old version, man, it's a sacrifice, it's a struggle, it's not easy killing that old version of who you are. Sometimes you got, you know, and I did it. I did it. And I didn't do, a guy kind of like, yo, I ran into Jada Kiss down in Atlanta. He's like, yo, Half, man, I seen you do it, man. Not a 120, not a 360, you did a 720. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
you did 720. But he was just like, yo, he said, man, I thought you came home. I was giving you 2 years. That was exact words. Because, you know, you got brothers be having 1 foot in, 1 foot out, acting like they doing good, got the job, but still playing around. He's like, nah, brother, I seen what you're doing, brother, and that's real. I salute you on that, you know? And that's the thing. I never really used them type of, I know who I am. So dudes who was around for real, who knew who I was, they're like, yo, Half was that dude. And just to see me do a whole 720, as he would say, I'm using that, bro, it's just, you know, and I don't need a cosign because I know who I am, but it's just like sometimes the world sees someone, sometimes the world sees someone like him do it at such a high level that he's at. Like, yo, he must been, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so that's the thing.
I thought that when I saw because I saw that video.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I'm like, damn, this dude's the real, like, it's true. You know, like I don't think the fuck, man. Like I'll tell you exactly how far. I was like, shit, this dude is the real, because you can say what you want to say about yourself, right? Like but when others, and you don't need that validation, but the outside world, when they see that validates you for us. So it was powerful when I saw that video with Jadakiss saying that.
Because a lot of people overlook me. A lot of people are like, man, this brother's just too happy. Who the hell is he? You know what I'm saying? I just came out of nowhere, so people don't know. So when, like you said, and he said the same exact thing you say, like, yo, Half, trust me, man. Because he's like, yo, I got to give you your props, bro. Like, this is different. Like, yo, and, you know, and I know the brother for years, like, you know what I'm saying? You know, but it's just like, man, he seen my come up. He seen when I was that dude, when, you know, rappers was even rappers then. I was that, you know what I'm saying? Like, rappers wanted to be what we were, you know what I'm saying? So that's the era I come from. But, like, it was just one of those things. things, man. He was like, let me do that for you, family. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it was just one of those things to kind of get them type of flowers and that kind of recognition. But it's like one of those things, man, like, yeah, you know, so people was like, man, you know, I was getting hit up, yo, Hap, you know, blah, 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 yo, word, like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, bro, this is the, you know, cause I'm humble, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm humble. I don't, a lot of people are like, yo, pop your shit. I'm like, nah, man, I'm humble.
Like I can, but I don't want to.
I can't. You know why? Because I really, you know what it is? Because I love just being accessible. I love just, you know, being around folks. And I really don't want nobody, and I don't shrink myself, don't get me wrong, but I want people to feel comfortable. I want to be people like I'm not unstopped. Like, I like to be around individuals. I want people to be like, yo, listen, I was once you. I see you through me. Like, yo, we can do this. I like standing with the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing,
100%.
man. I like to give them genuine vibes. Like, I like to stand with the people. So I'm never too good to get on the subway. You know what I'm saying? Like, you hit me up, like, yo, you know, yeah, this is what I do, man. I love this stuff, man. I don't care. Like, this is
That's
what I
one
do.
thing I'll say. Like in seeing you, and you were smiling in the train. I was born and raised in New York City. I moved down to Florida when I was 30. I'm 38 now, so I've been here for 8 years. I went to New York last year, October, for an event to network and meet people and just, you know, try to get out there and meet the people. And I was so happy to get in that train, man. I was in that train and I was smiling. Something that I took I went to school in 114th Street for a year. And, you know, when you a city kid, you always in the train, on the buses. And I was happy as pig and shit, man. Like I felt like a little kid just in there, and I'm like, damn. I drive everywhere here, and it was fun taking the train and just seeing people. And you see, you know, I love being downtown because of the whole art scene. So just to be there, that was super dope too. One thing I wanted to mention that I saw today, and it struck a chord with me. I don't know if it was today, but you took a picture with Wallow. And then
it was today. Yeah, good dude.
You did that, man, and I'm like, it has to be like God reassuring that this podcast needs to happen, because I just listen. I lock in on people when I take a liking to them. So I was watching a podcast that he did with Mel Robbins, and in that, one of the last things that he said was when he was released from prison after 20 years, he had promised his family that he was going to be this other person, that he was going to come out, and you know, he was not going to live the life that he was in before. But he said when he came out, before he came out, he was so scared, because he's like, I promised, he calls her nanny, all these different things of who I was going to be, but I've never been that person. So that was the fear that I had. Like, I didn't know who I was going to come out and be. And it was difficult. And then he's like, once I came out and I smelled the air, I knew what I needed to do. And I think that's so powerful, like just to show the people, like, and you're a testament as well, that just because of what's happened in your past, it doesn't really determine what your future is going to be like, or the impact that you're going to have on people, because you're already making an impact on people and kids in different communities. And then you look at somebody like Wallow and all the amazing things that he's doing, and he did 20 years. He did a 20-year bid. He went and sat down for 20, and that's difficult. And to come out as positive as he is just amazing. And then you took the picture with him, and I'm like, oh yeah, this needs to go down. Like,
yeah, no question. Yeah, we cross paths quite often. Quite often, man. Mutual friends, mutual circles. So it's like, you know, every time I see the brothers, always salute. You know what I'm saying? And hope soon we probably be collaborating, doing some things, you know. But it's just one of those things, man. Like, you know, like you said, it's scary. It's like I told you, identity, man. Going into a whole new person when you're involved and you're changing to kill that old version of who you used to be. Like, it's not easy, especially when you're going back to a community where you feel like you got to play catch up. You know. You're trying to figure out, and you're doing things that's really unfamiliar. It's hit different on all levels, man. But he made it on the other side, and he demonstrated at a high level. And every time I see him, I always tell him, man, we need to make 40 or 100 more of you. But, you know, in that industry, it's kind of, you know, we probably only going to always see one Wallow, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's unfortunately, that's how it is. Even with the Vitiligo game, I told you, we're only probably going to see the one Winnie, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's crazy, man.
But that's why I said you got to create where you at. You got to really continue to knock down these doors, continue to believe what you believe in, and then it all will work out no matter what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I always tell people, create where you at, man. Continue to build, continue to do what you do, you know?
James, you said a lot of things, a lot of inspirational and inspirational things, along with, you know, sharing with us and being vulnerable. Before we close out, anything that you want to leave the people with before we do close out?
If anyone's out there and you're having some challenging times trying to figure out who you are, I'm going to give you something. right? So this is what works for me, and I've been doing this for years. Most people can't look in the mirror for 30 seconds. I need you to look in that mirror deeply for 30 seconds and see what's on the other side. But when you look in that mirror, do me a favor. I don't need you going there fixing yourself, judging yourself. I need you to see what's on the other side. And if you know this is difficult, just know why this is why it matters. Build that relationship with who you are, man. Start loving on yourself, start seeing yourself, start knowing your worth, because you are enough. You're not broken, you are becoming.
Love that. I love that. It's super powerful, because in touching that, what you just said and looking in the mirror, that was one of the things that I wasn't able to do for a very long time. I had a friend of mine say, and he was like 23 or something like that. He's like, when I look in the mirror, I know who I am. And that scared the shit out of me, because I'm like, I can't do that. And I think the more I looked in the mirror, the more I was looking for who I am, until I found like the confidence in saying, like, I know who I am.
And it's difficult for most people. A lot of people have a lot of dark side to them, a lot of ugliness they did in the world. So it's bigger than just appearance, right? It's a lot of insecurity, fear, things that you haven't moved forward from grace. So a lot of people can't even look themselves in the mirror. A lot of people don't even look beyond the mirror. Like, a lot of times people are like, man, I did so much shade, or I can't even do it. Or they didn't even do no shade. They just don't really see themselves. They're just too busy trying to fix themselves. And it's one of those things, if you look in the mirror long enough and you do the work, the mirror will show you love back. It will show you love back.
Make me snap my fingers, man.
Yeah, the mirror will show you love back. And a lot of people say you do a lot of talking about the mirror, but if you hear some of the best speakers in the world, like everybody talk about the habits and the things that we create for ourselves. If it's journaling, praying, if it's looking in the mirror, looking at yourself, doing the work, doing these little different things that you create to have this idea to manifestation and speaking life into yourself. It's so powerful. To go back to what you say, your friend said he know who I am. This is what I do. These 3 things I always do. I like myself. I love myself. I know who I am. And it's proven. I do this in schools. I do this with adults. I have them repeat after me. And by them even fixing themselves to do that, it's just powerful. I like myself. I love myself. I know who I am.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just powerful. It's one of those things. How you speak to yourself is everything. Your voice got power. If I look at myself every single day, say I'm not good enough, I'm gonna feel like I'm not good enough. Yeah. One thing I know you can control is your thoughts, your worth, your smile, your attitude, and your day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all here, man. You can control all that,
Yeah. I always remember, like, when somebody said, like, be careful what you tell yourself, because your mind fools yourself. Like, when you tell yourself you're not something or you're not enough, your mind can't tell the difference, or it believes what you say.
That's a fact. That emotional mind can become a very dangerous mind.
Yeah.
That emotional mind can become a very dangerous mind really quickly, man. I just learned that from an early age, man. All the kids would say about me are the pointing, the staring. And the crazy thing about it, man, I love when people stare at me now, because I love all the attention on me. And, one of the things I have the kids do now is just really tap in on this side of my face. And I tell them, hey, man, I might can't change your heart. I might can't change your mind, but just do me a favor. Stare at me. I need you to find your skin tone with their minds. And when you do, just know we all the same. We all the same. And we all the same. Like, you can't tell me, like, this is just skin. It's deeper than that. It's something inside of us. This is why I'm saying, that's why I wrote the book. That's why I said kids develop their thought process from 1 to 7. If they are taught hate at home, that's what they're going to lead with. They taught love and compassion. I gave myself compassion. This is why I'm giving the world compassion. My mom taught me at an early age, unconditional love, no matter what. My thing is I'm kind to everyone I meet, no matter what. That's just how I move. That's what it taught me, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? That little boy, that's what it taught me, man. To this day, I move that way. I still use my imagination. I just kind of just do everything that I wish I could have did when I was a lot younger. I operate as an adult now. The smiling, the kind to everyone I meet. Happy Monday, happy Tuesday. Happy Wednesday. I just wanted to be seen. So now what I want to do, I want other people to feel seen and heard.
I love that.
Even if it's from a stranger. Hey, how are you doing? Open the door. Even on the subway, I let people go before me. Oh, thank you. Just a kind act. I said, just want people to feel seen. A lot of people don't feel seen. A lot of people act like people are broken, man. But you are becoming. You got to get out your comfort zone.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's powerful. You just saying that, I'm somebody that's continuously trying to break out of different shells, right? Different versions of myself, of the person that looks friendly and is funny and all these different things. And, I got to describe it at work. Sometimes I kind of sit down and I just don't want to interact. I don't know why. And then there's other times that I'm like, you know what? That's not me. Person I am is I, go show love, let the people know I'm there. Like, I'm quick to have a conversation about anything. I want to be seen as somebody who's resourceful and who can, and I'm always willing to help genuinely. When people talk to me about the pod, I'm like, yo, just hit me up. Anything you need, I got you. I learned this path on my own, and instead of saying things like, "Oh, I don't know I don't know how to do," I'm like, I fail forward, get back up, and keep pushing, and that's it.
That's it.
Because there's joy in that, and not knowing. That's the best way you could look at it. Find the joy in not knowing and learning.
I always tell people, man, that lesson, you find that blessing. Like, that's how I always found all my lessons. I found my blessings, right? I would never been on the side where I'm at. My biggest setback became my biggest comeback, right? So it's these little things, man. If I didn't take the chance on me and bet on me, I would never even understand who I would become if I didn't take the chance on me. So it's just all these different things that we're speaking about. It just leads back to one thing. Fell forward, man. Keep going.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Fell forward no matter what. Keep going. You never know what's the outcome,
I don't want to live, and I'll say this, and this will be the last thing I say. I really enjoy having a conversation with you. I don't even feel like we're recording this. It's genuine love, man, and I appreciate you. But I don't want to live a life of not only regret, but of what if. I want that. It's almost like bad breath. I don't want it near me.
I'm on the same page.
I don't want to do the what if. I want to do like what if it doesn't? Like, I want to do that. I did it. I don't want no regrets. Like, I'm a big supporter of Gary Vee, and when he talks about being in your deathbed at whatever age, and it's like, oh man, all the regrets, all the things that
I wish I should have, could have. People are like, I wish I should have, could have. What do you mean you could have? Did it? You know what I'm saying? You could have had.
Let's execute, man, and surround yourself with people like James who's also getting after it and push each other forward and be, I always say protect who you have near you, because your circle makes a lot of who you are or who you're becoming.
That's a fact. That's the truth right there. That's the truth. And a lot of times your circle, once you start to grow, you start to see who's there for you or not,
Yeah, man.
You start to evolve, and it's lonely too. Don't get it twisted. When you start to evolve and you start to become this new person, when you're working on yourself so much, and there's not wrong with that. It's lonely, but it's a good loneliness. And then you realize, man, you want to go to the next level, to the next room. You realize that, man, you should see that room too. And it's just like one of those things. You just got to keep building the people around you, man, who's like-minded individual, who just align with the work that you're doing and things you're trying to strive for every single day. And that's what's important. That's what's going to keep it healthy.
That's what I'm at, James. I'm in the space of feeling lonely. And I don't mean that in a depressing way.
Right.
I mean I'm in that season of like realizing what's around me. And like, I feel like right now I'm better off alone until I meet the next crowd of people. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Well, you got a friend now. You got a new brother here.
Man.
You're here, brother. So,
appreciate you.
I'm here.
James, I appreciate you coming on the show, man, taking time out and just being receptive, even when I reached out to you, like a stranger just reaching out, and the fact that you've been talking about being kind and spreading love to people. I can advocate for you because you did just that when I reached out to you through a DM on Instagram. You didn't know me. I think you may have shown some love on the one of the posts with Esmeralda because you know her, and that's when I was like, oh, I relate to this guy here. Like, I have to reach out to him, and we as a people need to do that more often and not shy away from spreading love and reaching out to one another. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining on the show today. If you may, please let people know your handle. I'll have all your information on the post when I put it out.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on all platforms at That Vitiligo Guy, which is ThatVi.
Amazing. Thank you so much once again, and I wish you best of luck. And like you said, you earned yourself a friend on this side too.
Appreciate you, bro.